Order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so our minutes from the previous meeting on Monday, February 3rd. We had a public hearing on 3186 Route 22 restaurant. We opened the public hearing. It was discussed briefly, and then we made a motion to leave the public hearing open for written comments until February 10th, and that passed. A resolution to adopt a determination of significance negative declaration for 3186 Route 22, which passed. And then, excuse me, we had a discussion about Stony Brook Estates and how they are planning on coming back. And then we adjourned the meeting at 7:55. Motion to accept the minutes made by.
So move. Second.
We have a member Villano, seconded by member Palmer. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say no. Okay, that motion passes 5-0 with 2 absences. All right, old business. 3186 Route 22 restaurant. Please come to the podium. Good evening.
Good evening. So we had submitted some, I guess, additional responses.
Mhm.
And I believe, well, I know our engineer has started the Speedy's permit with the client. I'm not sure if that has gotten filed, but I know that they were interacting for information, so.
Okay. All right. And so following the public hearing, we had it open for written comments till February 10th. Did our secretary receive any?
Nothing. Nothing was received.
Thank you. Okay. Do any members of the planning board have any comments or questions regarding this project at this time? Okay. The Speedy permit was mentioned. Engineer Berger, if you wanted to just.
That's for the sewage disposal. That's our argument is a condition of approval to get the health department, which would also be DEC. But health department would administer. It's basically a dual permit between Dutchess County for the construction and the Speedies with DEC for yearly reporting.
Okay.
But that's within your recommended resolution, and I don't see any other engineering issues,
Okay.
as well as the DOT permit. That would be something you get afterwards.
Okay. Thank you. Planner Werner.
Yeah, no further comments from AKRF. We worked together with Victoria on the draft resolution that you've got tonight.
Okay. And Attorney Polidoro.
We added some standard conditions to the approval,
Mhm.
and then one condition, if you scroll down, would require the installation of a 6-foot-high fence for the full boundary. That was something that was discussed at the last meeting.
Mm-hmm. Full width of the eastern property boundary line.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Members of the planning board, having heard from our consultants, any comments, questions?
None here.
Mr. Fernandez, do you have any comments or questions for
No.
us? Okay.
Perfectly understood.
6-foot tall horizontal wood slat fence for the entire property line an issue for your client?
No, I mean, there's some trees there, so it's, I don't know how straight it's going to be, but
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not about being straight, it was about blocking the headlights for the neighbors.
no, I understood. We had that, I don't know, 90%
Mhm.
kind of drawn out, and just the ends, because I believe on the electrician's side, he's got a chain link and he's got vinyl. It's kind of weird the way it ends. On the other side, it's just open
Mhm.
and just kind of overgrown, so we'll have to stake that out and take care of that.
Okay.
Question, does it have to be wood?
The reason I indicated wood slat is because that was proposed on the plans already for,
Sure.
half of it. So it's intended to match. If he wants to propose something else, he has to show it.
Yeah, no, the wood's fine. I think it's the right motif for the restaurant.
And where it's overgrown, if there was no fence there, you could just, that could be cut out, and then there is no fence and nothing overgrown, so then light could get through.
Say that? I'm sorry.
Where it is overgrown, you're saying you didn't want to necessarily have a fence there because it's overgrown. If-
Yeah, there was no houses there anyway. It was towards the northeast corner.
Northeast corner.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's fine.
All right. Any further discussion on this project? All right, seeing no further discussion, resolution to grant site plan, erosion sediment control permit, and architectural review board approval, 3186 Route 22 LLC, whereas the applicant 3186 Route 22 LLC has submitted an application for site plan, erosion sediment control permit, and architectural review board approval to convert an existing 3,455 square foot unoccupied commercial building into a 60-seat restaurant with existing septic system, build a new parking lot with 25 parking spaces, and add associated stormwater infrastructure, lighting, and landscaping on a 0.9 acre property, collectively known as the project, located at 3186 Route 22, Dover Plains, New York, tax parcel number 132-600-7063-10-491576, in the HM zoning district and the Dover Principal Aquifer Overlay District, known as the project site. And whereas a restaurant is a permitted use in the HM zoning district subject to site plan approval, and whereas the project is shown on a site plan entitled Planning Board Site Plan Approval, 3186 State Route 22, Town of Dover Plains, Dutchess County, NY, 12522 by Joseph Fernandez, Architect, PC, sheets T-1, T-2, T-3, T-4, T-5, T-6, T-7, T-8, and A-1, last revised January 14, 2025, collectively known as the site plan set. And whereas the applicant has submitted a long-form environmental assessment form, or EAF, dated October 10, 2024, pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, or SECRA. And whereas on October 7, 2024, the Planning Board classified the application as an unlisted SECRA action pursuant to 6 NYCRR, Section 617.4 and 5, and declared its intent to serve as lead agency in a coordinated review of the project in which no other agency objected. And whereas pursuant to Section 239-M of the General Municipal Law, the Planning Board referred the project to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development, which responded on January 8, 2025, that it was a matter of local concern with comments. And whereas on February 3, 2025, the Planning Board reviewed Parts 2 and 3 of the EAF, adopted a determination of significance, a negative declaration, finding that the project as proposed would not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts, and that a draft environmental impact statement would not be prepared. And whereas a duly noticed public hearing was held on February 3, 2025, during which all those who wished to speak were heard and left open for written comments until February 10, 2025. Now therefore be it resolved that the Planning Board hereby grants site plan and architectural review board approvals to the project as depicted on the site plan set, and authorizes the Planning Board Chair to sign the site plan set after compliance with the following conditions. 1, payment of all fees and escrow. 2, revision of the site plan set to include a 6-foot, 0-inch tall horizontal wood slat fence along the full width of the eastern property boundary line. 3, New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, or NYSDEC, approval of a state pollution discharge elimination system, or SPEEDIES permit, for the septic disposal system as noted in a letter from the Dutchess County Department of Health dated January 22, 2025. For approval of a highway work permit from the New York State Department of Transportation, or NYSDOT, for the commercial driveway and any improvements in the right-of-way if determined necessary by NYSDOT. Be it further resolved that the planning board hereby grants the application erosion and sediment control permit for disturbance as shown on the site plan set, subject to the following conditions. One, submission of a $1,500 submission of $1,500 to be placed into escrow to cover the cost of site inspections by the planning board engineer or planner. Two, submission of a performance guarantee in the amount of $16,826 in form, substance, and matter of execution satisfactory to the town attorney. Be it further resolved that before the authorized official may issue a certificate of compliance, the planning board engineer shall provide the authorized official with a written statement indicating that all work authorized under the erosion sediment control permit has been completed in accordance with the approved permit. Be it further resolved that this approval shall expire on September 3, 2025 if final plans are not submitted to the chair for signing and stamping on or before that date, and on September 3, 2026 if the applicant fails to obtain the necessary building permits to implement the project.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes.
On item number 4, since the highway work permit may take some time to get, would the attorney and would the board consider having that be granted prior to CO instead of a building permit? Because the way this reads now, they can't get a building permit while they're going through and dealing with the DOT.
Attorney Polidoro?
Did you want to say something? before
Yeah,
I weigh in?
let me just, so we have a building permit already to do everything except for the paving, which now, based on that approval,
Really shouldn't.
we should be able to do.
Are you a building permit to do like the whole restaurant?
The reconstruction work, the rest of the whole restaurant that my tenants who are here, or the tenants that are here, and my clients, we're going to file that now
I see.
with the building department.
Okay.
As far as DOT goes, we had them review the prior application from the 90s, and they had submitted a letter, and I believe it's a matter of record, that they were fine with it and that we needed to do no further
The
work.
letter they gave doesn't technically say you don't need a work permit. And
A
you would
work
need
permit?
And it's a very hard letter to get.
Okay,
So-
I'm not an attorney, but I guess I would refer to,
I actually am okay moving the DOT permit to be a condition of CO because DOT has taken a very long time in the past few months to issue permits, and it's a real hindrance if you're trying to get a building permit. Maybe it won't be a hindrance here since they appear to have a permit, but normally you wouldn't be able to get your building permit until the site plan was signed. So what we would do is add another be it further resolved clause and say, be it further resolved that prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy for the project, the following condition shall be satisfied. And then, or, you'd move it down.
Be it further resolved.
Yeah, that,
Go ahead.
prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy, for the project with a big P,
Project.
the applicant shall satisfy the following condition.
It sounded like they needed a permit.
And then if it's CO, it's not just approval, Joe, right? Then it's closing it out, or,
Yeah, the CO, yeah, they close out the permit before the CO is issued, so. Let's see.
so it's not, it's approval and, so it'd be completion of work under any highway work?
Yeah, that would be, yeah, because completion of work would be, the proof of completion of work would be, they give a letter of acceptance.
So, under one, it would say completion of any work authorized under a highway work permit
If needed. Yeah.
then,
under a
yeah,
highway?
highway, yeah, it's, you can just delete the other part, but highway work permit from the New York State Department of Transportation,
Oh, I see.
DOT. Yeah,
Highway work permit from the New York City.
yeah, and I guess that's, that works.
Okay.
And the letter we submitted was not that?
I mean, let's find your letter, Rachel.
Email.
I think
Well,
it
it
was a
was an email.
conceptual approval
Well, we received the
email.
letter. I think we forwarded it to everyone as a,
So,
Why is he finding?
it came from, or actually, no, that may have been an email.
Yeah, I have an email from Bill LaRose.
Mm-hmm.
It says the existing entrance is adequate for your proposed use. A highway work permit will be required to pave the small portion of the existing access that is in the right-of-way and any required work zone traffic control on Route 22 for the paving operation. Please be aware any new utility connection from Route 22 to the site will also require a highway work permit. Please confirm that there is no utility work required. You may now proceed to stage 2 of the Perm 33 COM application.
Which is the determination if you need, this is what we call conceptual letter you get. This isn't a letter that says no permits needed.
And we actually sent him pictures of us being 20 feet from the white line into the site, showing that we had completed the original, I guess, connection to the road.
Understood, but unless you have a letter from the regional director, not from Bill LaRouche, that says that the work is completed, which is typically done after a perm 33 has been processed. That's something we're offering to allow you to do while you're doing the rest of the work, and
Sounds
not
good.
needing before you get your site plan signed.
right, you have,
Without that, you've got to do all this before you get your site plan signed.
you
You
have
might
time
just
to
be
work
sitting
this
there for
out.
months waiting for a
6
letter.
months at least.
So if you have time to work it out, if you get us a letter saying, upon further review, we
Okay.
don't need to issue a highway work permit, then that will be satisfied, or
Alright.
you do the work.
Great.
But with this modification, you don't need that for getting the site plan signed, correct?
Correct.
So you can move ahead.
Provided you the other three things.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Okay.
Well, I mean, Joe, so this was a discussion. You think the Speedy's permit should stay where it is? How long does that take to get?
It's procedurally. If they
Yeah.
filed it already, they have 30 days after it's filed, it gets put into the
Okay.
record. I mean, they can have it in 6 weeks. It's a procedural. The Speedies is statutory time that goes through.
Okay.
But all of these conditions are prior to getting a completion, right?
Before you get your
Not-
site plan signed, you
It's
need
before
1,
getting
2,
your
and
site
3
plan
done.
signed.
Not
These
number-
have to
These
be-
three are before getting your site plan signed.
Yeah.
Right.
Then
but
the
we-
site plan signed, you can get the building permit, then you can start working on the building while you're also looking to get the highway work permit from the DOT to finish up the curb or entryway to the site to the satisfaction of the DOT.
Right, but you're saying we have to get these 4 things done.
Three things.
3 things done before you guys will sign and send that to the building department.
Right, you have to pay all fees
Yeah,
in
I'm not-
escrow.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. You have to revise your plan.
Mhm.
Okay, and then you need to have the Speedy's, approval of the Speedy's permit for the septic disposal system.
Okay.
And actually, item 1 and 2 further resolve the submission of the escrow and the performance guarantee have to be in place, right?
Well, right, so there's an erosion and sediment control
Well,
bond.
that part
which is
too, with the erosion
separate
sediment control.
For the exterior
So
work.
there's actually 5 items.
And just so you know, I saw that number is based on the work that has to be done as part of the site plan. I don't know if they submitted the proposal or if you just assisted to put it together.
And we pulled it together so it
Yeah.
wouldn't hold up the process.
Okay?
Seems like the longest leg that you have here is your Speedies permit.
Yeah, and I think that's already started, so that's fine.
It's a statutory, you can't push that through. There's
Right.
a period of time that has to be done. You have to put it in the, notify, it has to, a certain period, statutory time has to go by.
So Engineer Berger, if they've already started that, how long do they have to?
If
Wait.
it's been accepted and deemed to be a full, first you submit, DEC has to deem a complete application, then it gets put into the record. 30 days after that, they can issue a permit. So it could be as little as 30 days after they accept it, could be 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
Something's wrong or
Yeah.
needs work or?
They want additional information.
And how long ago did you submit?
I don't know, the engineer's working on that with the client directly, but I saw a bunch of emails going back and forth, so.
Okay. All right, so I'll need a motion to, propose this resolution as currently written. I think you can all see how it's currently written. Motion made by Member Roman, seconded by Member Williams. Discussion. Okay. All right. Seeing no discussion. Resolution to grant site plan erosion and sediment control permit and an architectural review board approval for 3186 Route 22 LLC as presently written. Secretary, please call the roll.
Member Williams?
Aye.
Member Valano?
Aye.
Member Roman?
Aye.
Member Palmer?
Aye.
Chairman Courtine?
Aye. This resolution is passed 5-0 with 2 absences. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right,
And-
so just, work with the appropriate town officials to make sure that you're getting these 3 things here and these 2 things here done for the erosion sediment control permit before you then apply to the building department for your,
We're going to revise our current application once that's done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess I can get an email on this, so I can, perfect.
yeah, I'll sign the resolution sometime this week and then.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate your help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I've saved that, so it's, you just have to adjust the tracking changes on it, because it's all in like
Tomorrow?
crossed out and then,
I'll do it tomorrow.
yeah, right. Okay. All right, next on the agenda under old business is Stony Brook Estates.
Good evening, Mark Day, Day and Stokoza,
Good evening.
representing Stony Brook Estates. We wanted to discuss with the board some of where we've been with the project. We met with the DOT recently and went through the comments that that they had generated on this a number of months ago. We also have worked out a drainage plan, whereas we're going to be installing new drainage on the north side of our proposed road, and we're going to be installing a box culvert under our proposed road. The goal is to basically take the water from Route 22 into the site, under the road, around the proposed basin, and into the swale that's there. It will require some drainage improvements to be made. It's a pretty shallow run, so we're going to be going with a pretty wide, probably a 6.5, 7 foot wide swale that will drain towards the south. We are trying to eliminate the need for the off-site sewer septic area, if you will. We've met with the DOT, who've agreed conceptually to the drainage. Like I said, we're working that out now. We would like to move the septic area into the area on the east side of our proposed road. We've done testing there. It's a sand and gravel material, and it would prevent us from having to go to the northern end of the property to put that system. Other than that, one of the reasons why we chose that was we think the pump station as originally proposed was very deep, and we're concerned about hitting groundwater, and we don't think we need to do that. So we're going to keep everything, let's say, a lot higher than it was originally proposed. So we think we can discharge into that area to the east of our proposed roadway. So that's where we're at. We're finalizing our drainage details, and we'll be submitting that in the near future.
Okay. So what we have here in front of us, which was received on February 12th, does not show any of that.
No, because we're
Okay.
we're
I'm just-
working that
I want
out.
to make sure I'm not confused.
If
You're explaining a bunch of things that I'm not seeing, so, okay. Because it's, this currently still has the septic
Way up there.
way
Yeah,
up
no.
there, and nothing seemingly changed with the drainage down here,
what
and,
we're proposing to do is put the septic up in here. The drainage, we just worked this out. We're gonna install a new culvert from 22, basically picking it up. We'll put a box culvert here and a very low swale. There's currently 3 15-inch pipes. Those are not adequate. We're
Okay.
gonna remove those.
uh-huh,
That's why we're gonna propose a swale around this basin. We're also, our runoff from around here will still continue the same way. That way, all the off-site water doesn't go through our basin. Our basin's only purpose is to serve whatever impacts that are generated by the proposed development.
okay. So, so there is my understanding of why the systems are proposed to be at the northern end of the property is there's some historical concern about placing a system for wastewater so relatively close to the water source of everyone who lives in the unincorporated village area of Dover Plains. And that's why it's was not proposed to be here, but was proposed to be farther up, which is then over here.
But I believe the location we're proposing is more than 200 feet away from those public water supply wells.
So I think we would just want you to supplement the record with some kind of report explaining why this is safe, because apparently this water is very pure. Dover prizes it, and we don't want to do anything to mess with it.
And the planning board, long before any of us were on it, went through a lot of discussions about this, my understanding of the record, and that it was seen as though having it as far away as it could be from this water source was
Yeah, ideal.
Ideal.
It minimized
Yeah, I
the
think it came out
potential
of
for
the-
negative
It
adverse.
came out of the seeker process
Yeah.
a long time ago. I wasn't involved in it, but my understanding from Joe is that, yeah, it was really studied hard for that reason.
So it may behoove you to review the record from the original approvals, because this change of the wastewater system from here to this location may reopen SECRA for this project, which
And
not
maybe-
doing that may not.
Maybe there's been new technology in the last
Maybe.
20 years
Yeah.
or other reasons.
Right, because this all started about 20 years ago, or definitely
Yeah.
18 years ago.
Yeah, it was approved in 2007, which means the review
18 years
started
ago,
prior to
yeah.
that.
So,
Okay.
Yeah,
We
again,
will
we're-
review it.
yeah, again, you haven't presented us with an actual plan as you described, so just before you do that, we wanted to give you a heads up.
Okay.
Okay. Anything further this evening?
Not really. I mean,
Okay.
our main goal is to get the drainage worked out and
Sure.
satisfy the DOT.
Okay. And so I know just from having done a site walk there some time ago, there is a drainage basin that was created.
Yes,
So you're saying that
will remain.
will remain, okay.
Right.
But the piping needs to change and,
Well, the piping from Route 22 has always been a challenge
You're right.
because the grade is
relatively flat.
relatively flat.
Sure.
So the goal has always been taking that water off 22, getting it into our site, bringing it onto our site without taking it through that basin you just spoke about. Otherwise, it'll just completely inundate that basin. So our
Right.
goal is to take all the off-site water that flows onto this property
Right.
around that basin.
Okay, I see. Right, so the water, it's going to, what the heck? It's going to the Dover Stone Church Brook stream.
Correct.
Anyway, it's just, oh no, I didn't do that, just to be clear.
You should have not hit X.
Okay, good to know for the next time. So, I don't know, I'm not pointing at
The
anything
battery
anymore.
doesn't like
So,
you.
all right, so the water from 22, it's gonna go to the stream anyway.
Yeah.
What you're saying is, you'll take it onto the property, but really don't want it to mix with your own drainage water.
Right.
I see.
The
Okay.
reason why
Is
we're
that
doing that
right?
is the neighbor to the south is being adversely affected. And our
That came up in
client,
our public hearings.
right, our client is willing to pick that up, bring it onto our site and bring it around him.
Okay.
So. I guess we're done.
Yeah, I mean,
Time to get out while you can.
your plan didn't show any of that. Okay, so, yeah, we're good.
So we'll resubmit
Yes.
and,
And again, I think if you maybe want some more historical context, the only person who might have really that kind of information might be Engineer Berger.
Yeah, I can provide that if the board
Yeah,
wants.
just,
but,
or I guess just the.
the records
up
are
with
probably
the
lost
The planning
upstairs somewhere.
secretary to find the minutes.
Okay.
In Laserfish
There was-
or,
I did
Dusty
go over
book
them
or-
at one time. They're very
I
sketchy.
might
sure,
have them in.
okay.
I'll look for it. There's
Yeah.
two other things that we kind of talked about a little bit with the public hearings when we were happening was, and I didn't see it on this latest plan, a walkway to get out to 22, like
Right,
a
a sidewalk to
sidewalk for
Route
the residents
22.
to be able to
Okay.
walk out.
Make it more walkable.
Yeah, and that was something that I think your partner said would be put in, but we didn't see it yet.
okay.
And then the headlights leaving the site, there was, the neighbor to the south was concerned about
As they come
the
up.
lights shining in.
Right.
as
And I
people
thought I
leaving, and there was
saw
some
trees.
screening was proposed for that. Some
Yeah, I thought
new
I saw
trees
trees
there.
on the,
Yeah.
some drawing that weren't there.
But I think they had some
Currently.
concerns about the trees impacting their septic area with the roots and stuff. So I don't know if that's been looked at further.
So you're saying there's headlights?
They were concerned about
People leaving the
Vehicles
site
leaving the
heading
site.
east, that the
Oh,
headlights would
okay.
shine into the back of their.
curve of the road as they're
Neighbor's
leaving.
house.
They head
Yeah.
south before they turn
Okay.
east.
Yeah.
Right.
So then, to address that, there was some additional plantings proposed right at the corner of their lot where it hits the road to try to mitigate that. But I think there was some concern from the neighbor that the trees were too close to their septic.
Okay, I don't know that that's the case. The septic, I believe your septic's in the back.
There was some issues.
Right,
with
in
that
the back
too,
of their
right?
property is.
Having it shown.
Right next to your client's.
Oh,
Yeah, but I
property.
think
Near
for
the
that-
drainage basin.
where the trees are proposed, we're well beyond 10 feet, so we should be okay.
So their septic is pretty close to their rear property. I sent you a copy of their as-built
Yeah,
for
we
your
have
firm
it.
to have that, so you could locate that on your plan.
Okay.
But that's pretty close, so they maybe want to make sure you dimension that, or so that it's clear to everybody you meet your setbacks. So on the road, you're going to be diverting the water from DOT around, so you don't have to treat it. So are you going to have a separate storm sewer for the water from the road itself that's going to go into your basin, or some other method for treatment?
The actual, if I can help here, we're gonna pick this up here
Yeah.
off of 22.
Yes.
We're gonna, that's all right, I'll just do it here. We're gonna come off of 22.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a box culvert
Yeah,
here.
and divert it around, yes.
And we're gonna go around this
Yeah.
there's existing pipes here,
Yeah.
we're gonna take that out.
Yeah, the diversion around.
Yep, and then all the other drainage
Sure.
goes out and around this.
But that swell you're talking about there is only for 22. The water from your road will still be
This.
collected and go into your basin for treatment, right?
This will not.
No, not that. I'm talking about the road from, the
Oh,
water
yeah,
from,
this-
the
yeah.
water from the entrance road, not there, from the entrance road going in.
Yeah, that'll
That
come
first
down.
300 feet will be collected in a separate storm sewer.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that won't be dumped into your swale. That'll be a separate storm sewer going in.
Want the water to
Be treated.
go from east to west, but the driveway, the roadway from east to west goes up in elevation.
And go, and it's,
We've got a way to pick this up,
okay,
so we're gonna, that's our goal, pick this up, all this,
Yeah.
into that,
so separate storm sewer systems, basically, one for onsite and one for diversion.
correct.
Okay.
So that's our goal. So, I would think next time we submit, you'll probably, we're gonna have a lot more detail on it,
Okay.
all right?
The next deadline would be, thank you, the next deadline would be March 19th for the April 7th meeting,
Okay,
or April 2nd for the April 21st meeting.
okay.
And if you'd like to give either, if you're talking with one of the consultants or the planning secretary, maybe a heads up, like, we're not going to make the March 19th one, we're going for April 2nd. That would just kind of help us with some
We will,
planning of meetings.
we'll let you know when we're gonna,
Appreciate it.
there's a little bit of work here, as you can imagine.
Sure,
So,
yeah.
as we do it, and
Right.
we'll get a better understanding when we can submit,
Okay,
all right?
great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next under new business, we have 198 Dogtail Corner.
Good
Hello.
evening, Evan Pendleton from Insight Engineering, surveying landscape architecture.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Evan Pendleton from Insight.
Okay. For 198
Yes.
Dogtail Corners. Okay. Just give me a moment to open these up. All right.
All right, so the site consists of 4.3 acres in the RU district. It's currently developed as a single-family residential house. The site's bordered by Dogtail Corners Road to the west, and then to the east is the 10 Mile River.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a wetland down in the southwest corner and a stream that runs along the southern property line. So there's a culvert.
Wetland here.
Yep.
Okay.
So there's a culvert that extends under Dogtail Corners Road, which discharges into the wetland, and then that wetland is conveyed into or to the 10 Mile River by that stream that runs along the southern property line. So the project's proposing a one-bedroom accessory cabin to the south of the existing residence.
That'd be this here.
Yep.
Okay, so this is existing, that's existing.
Correct. The site's accessed by a common driveway with the property to the north. The one-bedroom cabin will be serviced by a water supply line from the existing residence, and then wastewater will be disposed of with a holding tank from the residence. So due to the site constraints, as you see, the setbacks from the stream to the south and also the 10 Mile River to the west, or the east, there's really no good area for a septic. So we're looking to work with the health department to do a holding tank instead, which would be regularly pumped out, just simply like your septic tank. And because this is a one-bedroom cabin that's just used for guests, the uses would be minimal. So it's not like typically you'd size a bedroom or a septic for a one-bedroom for 110 gallons a day. Because this would normally be used on weekends, the use would be a lot less frequent. So pumping wouldn't be, you'd still be able to get away with pumping it every couple of years rather than a more frequent basis.
I'm sorry, just help me out with the math there. So 110 gallons a day,
Yeah,
a weekend being 2 days, is 220 gallons a weekend. So it's 1,000 gallons?
correct.
So
But
over the course of 4 to 5 weekends, it would fill up.
Right, but it wouldn't be used every weekend.
Uh-huh. But it could be
And it-
used every weekend,
Yes.
Right.
and it could be used every day.
So we're required to size for 110 gallons a day.
Uh-huh.
Normal uses are closer to 45 gallons per day per person.
Okay.
Um,
And so there could be 2 or 3 people in there, and it could be less or more than 110 per day.
There's also the facilities in the main residence.
Right. Which someone might not be so interested in doing in February.
No, understood.
Right.
If it's more frequent, then we'll figure that out. But it would be set with an alarm, so that way, once it does reach a certain capacity, there's still a couple of days storage to allow it to be pumped out.
So just tell me out here, what prevents it from, I mean, if you're getting the water from the house, what prevents connecting with the existing septic system?
Size of the existing septic. So
Okay.
the existing septic is sized for the existing residence itself.
Mm-hmm.
Due to the location of the existing septic, it's not a code-conforming septic,
Mm-hmm.
so we couldn't expand on it easily. And also due to elevations, it's not as easy as it looks to discharge by gravity to the septic system.
I see. Where's the well on this property?
If you go to the next sheet,
Okay.
it's right,
I see it.
yep,
Okay, so that's there.
yep,
So the concern is not that the septic is too close to the well, it's sufficient distance from the well.
nope, it's within 100 feet of the stream.
So because it's within 100 feet of the stream,
Yep,
from here to here.
correct,
Okay. Okay, so because it's within 100 feet of the stream, it can't be expanded. It can exist, it just can't be expanded.
correct.
Okay. Engineer Berger, does that ring true?
That's true.
Okay.
There are waivers and.
Not that I don't
position-
believe you, he's just our engineer, so I
So-
have to ask it.
There are waivers that could be granted, and there are provisions that could be protected along with clay trenches that will allow for less than 100 feet to a stream for unusual circumstances, which this would be. This isn't building on a brand-new site. This is building on an existing site.
Right. Okay. Proposed 1,000 gallon septic holding tank. I just, so again, this could be used as little or as much as whomever owns this property wishes to use it. So
Yeah,
it
and
presumably
then-
could be filled in a week, because it's not a traditional septic tank where the water, the leachate overflows, it goes to
Yeah.
a field.
But
And
that-
we have no way as the town to monitor that. I mean, the building, the code enforcement officer can't come out to the property every week and check the alarm or anything. And
It wouldn't be beneficial if the owner didn't pump it
Sure.
and have backup of septic into the cabin. So-
Right, that would be bad, sure.
Sure, but if, let's say there's a leak and the water runs and no one's home to hear the alarm, then doesn't that back up into the water course?
It would probably back up into the cabin itself first.
Will pop out of the top of the tank.
All right, so, okay, before I guess we go any further, this is something that would need to be approved by, not us, but the Dutchess County Department of Health?
So it does have to be approved by Department of Health, but you are considering a special use permit.
Right.
We'll get into that later
Yeah.
if this requires a special use permit. But some of the findings for special use permit will not overload any public water drainage or sewer system or municipal facility, will not materially degrade any water course or natural resource or ecosystem or endanger the water quality of an aquifer, and will be suitable for the property on which it is proposed, considering property size, location, topography, vegetation, soils, and hydrology. So there are, even though Department of Health would consider the type of system and the technical details of the system, I think the planning board has to be comfortable with it as well, given the stream and the wetlands and the property.
Okay. Engineer Berger, does the Department of Health
I mean,
I mean, I guess the question really is two-part. Who proposes this, and then do they approve it?
it's gonna be unusual, and they're gonna probably be asking how the planning board's responding to it, because they're gonna have the same questions that you, Mr. Chairman, have expressed. Once this CO is issued, somebody could move in there permanently, and we would not know, and then there's a one-bedroom with 4 people living in it, filling that tank up for
Possibly.
three days, and we have no method in the town of Dover to know that.
Right.
And nor does the health department, because the health department doesn't go out.
Sure.
So they're gonna, I'm sure the health department's gonna ask, and they may even send a letter to us on that, I would hope they would.
Right.
Typically, holding tanks are approved for short term, and when.
Like a
every other-
construction site or,
Or, and yes, I don't know how they could, and you know, maybe they can, put conditions on it that, one, even if they could, they're not enforceable.
right.
The health department doesn't have health department police that go around.
Right, it's only a citizen says, what's that
Yeah,
smell?
they're going to rely on the town of Dover to
Right.
comply with it, and the
Right.
town of Dover doesn't have the resources to go around weekly
Right,
and check on this.
right.
And that would be my concern, but it ultimately is the health department's for the purposes of treatment, but as the, our attorneys mentioned, special use permit, we have to look at what happens if, the tank overflows.
Sure.
And yes, it may back up into the house, but I could also see a homeowner going out there and kicking the side of the tank with a hammer.
Or the pipe or whatever, and then it just flows
So that
out.
they don't have a problem.
Sure.
Because they can't get a scavenger out there. I also don't notice a driveway that gets up to the tank for a truck to get to it in the springtime.
That is
when
another
the truck
valid
won't
point.
drive on the lawn. So, just getting it, there's a lot of apprehension I would have on this because of that, but
Right.
I'll leave it up to the attorney to see if there's any legal way to enforce it versus,
Okay.
Once it's built, and we can't
Right.
control it, so
Yes.
we have to plan for a worst-case scenario.
I mean, if it's one bedroom, you're talking about one line, there's no way the health department's gonna let you put one line between the system and the well as a separate system just for this building, as a non-conforming use.
A line where? Sorry.
Well, you have uphill from the existing system, there's an area there. There's
You're
no-
saying like near the house?
No, right, just uphill of the existing system.
Oh, you
6
mean,
feet off.
okay, right here. Okay.
Yeah, even if you put one line in there, or, I mean, 110, if it's gonna be so infrequent, connecting it to that system there would allow it to be used, even if there's a holding tank, and the holding tank then pumps into this system on an irregular basis when the other house isn't being used, so that there's a way for it to drain down afterwards. At least there's a mechanism for the effluent to go to a treatable space. And even if it's a existing system, I would hope that they would work with you to try to find some way to get that effluent from the one-bedroom unit into that existing system, even if it's got a one-line expansion versus just a holding tank.
Okay.
Because, you're right, 45 gallons per person, but I doubt that one person's gonna go to a cabin for the weekend. It's more likely gonna be 2 or 3. At least 2 people, so you're talking 90 gallons. And I don't think they're gonna go outside into the other house to take a shower or to go to the bathroom or use the kitchen sink. They're gonna use the facilities, so you're talking at best 10 days. And Scavenger does not pump out 1,000 gallons for the board to realize. You're not gonna get a Scavenger to come and empty that.
Okay.
More likely, they're gonna come and pump out 300 gallons, 400 gallons.
Right.
That's a typical of most of the scavengers that come around. They do not come with an empty tank. So,
Right, and also the distance from, if the
Here-
truck parks here, they need a hose that gets this distance, which,
that's gonna be, not a lot of the trucks around here have that. You're gonna have to, they can do it, it's just difficult.
sure.
But in my experience, it's very unusual to find a scavenger that shows up with an empty tank. You have to schedule, it can be done.
Mhm.
But those are things to take into
Yeah.
consideration, I believe.
Okay. Does any other members of the planning board have any comments, questions at this time?
I just have one comment.
Yeah.
It's obviously not an accessory apartment. You
Yeah.
don't fit into the criteria of a dwelling, you're under the square footage.
Right.
Where are you?
That's kind of what we wanted to talk about tonight is one option we were looking into is if we do increase the floor area to exceed 500 square feet, if that makes the application easier to move forward and then fit under a dwelling unit.
Okay, that would be 800 square feet.
Or, I'm sorry, an accessory apartment.
But you're not attached to the primary residence.
Right.
You would be a dwelling unit. What's the separation? I'd have to defer to council. Are we now in a subdivision?
No, you can, under your code, you're actually allowed to have more than one residence on a lot. And you can have an accessory apartment in a detached unit. It just has to meet certain requirements.
Thank you.
And the issue, my memo gets into, like, comment one is kind of like the big comment for both this and the next application that we're going to talk about.
Mhm.
And that, yeah, to echo Member Palmer's concern, is like, it doesn't seem to meet the definition of a dwelling unit, and to be an accessory apartment, it has to be a dwelling unit. That's kind of what the code
Yeah.
requires too. So you have that issue, plus you have the square footage issue. So that's why we can get into that now if you want.
Yeah.
We could keep
No
discussion
problem.
open.
Anything further
No-
there?
nothing further
Okay.
than
Any
that.
other members of
No, it's
the
a good
planning board have
comment.
any comments, questions, or?
That's what I was going to ask about.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say my biggest concern about it would be the potential for the future. As has been pointed out, there would be no way to monitor it.
Right.
And even if it's being used exactly as described by the current owner, there's nothing to say that 5 years, 20 years from now, the current owner won't sell it to somebody who says, oh, I'm going to treat that as an in-law apartment or a rental unit, and it could be used
Airbnb.
every day by 3, 4 people.
Okay, let's go to Planner Warner's.
Yeah, so I think both this one and the next one is really like, we can talk about comment one the most, I think, because I don't think we can really proceed with the rest of the recommendations or information without getting this kind of resolved by,
So these are two separate applications.
they are,
Right.
right, yep, but they're both kind of in the same boat
Sure.
as far as the definitions. So, if this was an accessory apartment, because it meets the definition of a dwelling unit, it seems to meet the, being in an accessory structure, it has to be less than 1,000 square feet. That's like the first thing that we note in this comment, right? And it's approximately 416 square feet. But it's not, again, it's not meeting the definition of a dwelling unit in the code, which is a building or portion thereof providing complete housekeeping facilities for one family. It seems like it's more like an extra bedroom that's just in an extra building, right? It doesn't have a kitchen. It has like a small kitchenette. The code doesn't really have like a accessory
Right.
bedroom or lodging
Yeah,
unit
This
thing.
is similar to, I think we discussed it on our call last week, that the project that was up on the ridge, where they were proposing like a bedroom over their detached garage.
Yes.
For a
But
daughter, yeah.
Similar to that.
Yeah.
In just that part of it, not about the septic or well. Or
It's similar to that one, and I think the way that that one was approved was that Don was okay with saying that, if they ever want to rent it out to a tenant as like an apartment, it would need to have like a stove and like be legalized as a dwelling unit.
But we treated
Um,
it.
We did treat it
And
as
for our
an accessory
purposes.
apartment for that, in that application,
Right.
so there's precedent there. It's just that there's a size issue here, right? It's below 500 square feet. So the two solutions, right, that we kind of laid out here is that you could have Don interpret it, you can send it to Don for his thoughts. on where this fits and if it can proceed as a special use permit. It could also, they can go get a variance from the ZBA to address the size being below 500 square feet.
Right.
So I think those are the first questions that we kind of need to firm up before we can do any kind of referrals or public hearings, anything like that we have noted here. The wetland issue is also another big comment that we have in here, only because the regulations have changed recently. They've become a little more onerous for,
Just go back to the, that's not the thing. Right, if you could explain that.
yeah, so
There's been a change in the,
there has, the
The
DEC is now requiring pretty much any application that's going before a land use board that might have a wetland on it to reach out to DEC to confirm if they're there or not, which is called this parcel jurisdictional determination process. That can take 90 days to get a response. And that's just for DEC to tell you, yeah, your site has wetlands on it based on like an aerial interpretation, I think is how they go about it. And then it's on the applicant to delineate it and figure out, if it's regulatory or not, and if there's, what the distances have to be from its edges to, or what the adjacent area is and what you can and can't do on the lot. So,
and just so clear, I mean, they're coming in and saying, we have a wetland on our property, and so they still need to do all this instead of the DEC, and the DEC has 90 days to be like, yep, you're right.
well, in this case, there's no delineation of this. It's really based on,
Do that.
yeah, it's based on the topography. It's roughly drawn. It's based on like a combination of like the GIS file that's available from DEC, the old one, plus the fact that the terrain here kind of gives it a boundary because there's a slope up from it towards the house.
Mhm.
So they've kind of used like the toe of that slope, I guess, is the where it starts or where the edge of it is.
Mhm.
It might make sense to just get it formally delineated, including the stream too, because you have issues with the stream corridor overlay here. You want to make sure you have that line drawn correctly from the edge of the water. I think
Well, Aaron, isn't part of the issue now that depending on what's in the wetland, the DEC can require a longer buffer, more than 100 feet? So it changes the calculation a little.
it does. And they outline this consultant option as well, where you can, for projects that have a hired consultant on board, you can do the delineation and you can submit it to DEC to get them to come and validate it in person, like come out to the site and check it. Again, I'm sure that takes time too. So it's just, it's new. This is brand new. Yeah, we have a lot of folks in our office that are experts in this that are like going to give us a training about, like all the planners and engineers are training about how this impacts everything,
Okay.
because it does. And there's also, I think, my understanding is in a few years from now, they have a plan for like the actual size of wetlands that are jurisdictional is going to change from like 12 acres down to 7.
2028.
Yeah, so 3 years from now,
January 31st.
it's going to be even more strict on the requirement. So,
Okay.
yeah, just wanted to get it out there just to make
Yep.
sure you guys are aware and the board's aware of this, and we can continue to get educated on it and inform you guys about this going forward. But
Have you already submitted to DEC?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So we're working
You're
with
in that
that
90
90
day
process. Yep.
yeah,
Okay.
let us know if this has wetlands on it, which is probably going to be yes. Okay.
So just to further on that, if the DEC does actually regulate this wetland, as long as they stick with the 100-foot adjacent area, we don't have any disturbance within that offset. So at that point, it shouldn't affect the project going forward. It would only be if they have an extended buffer, which I don't see. But
Yeah, we'll just have to see what comes back. And
Yep.
I don't know if you're planning to have somebody go out there and flag it or not, or you're going to wait to see
we
first.
might
Yeah.
end up,
Because
yeah,
I think you're gonna get, it's pretty clear they're there.
right.
Um,
Yeah, it's mapped by NWI, it's
Yeah.
just not a DEC wetland yet.
Right. Yeah, I mean, given everything feeds into the river to the east, it's sensitive, you know, I think it's important to get it right, even though it's not a very big project. Like, this is going to affect pretty much every applicant that has a wetland on their property going forward, so.
Which is a lot of properties in Dover.
And the state of New York as well. I mean, there's, like, I think DEC hired like 3 new staff, they said, to cover this new.
Region?
No.
No.
I know, for the whole
Yeah,
state.
I went to, I attended a webinar they put on, and they talked about the 3 new staff. I'm like, those poor people. But
All three.
it's good. It's a good time to be a wetland scientist, though, because you're going to be going out and delineating a lot more wetlands for people. So
Yeah. Cool.
yeah.
All right,
So we could get into the other things. I mean, assuming this can be a special use permit, it does meet a lot of other code requirements like setbacks, and it appears to meet the stream corridor overlay requirements. It's a type 2 seeker action because it's technically another construction of, this would result in a 2-family residence theoretically, which comes out to be a type 2 action. It does require county referral, does require a public hearing, but I just think we need to wait on that until we maybe get this dwelling unit,
Right.
accessory apartment issue figured out first.
yeah.
But we do have recommendations to do that interpretation from Don. We could classify it as type 2, even though that might be premature, because we don't know if it's kind of, you know, permitted or not yet. The board might want to go out and see the site, so consider setting a site walk, and then we think increasing the escrow on this one would be a good idea. Increasing it up to 5,000 from for an additional 3,500 to $5,000.
Okay. All right, just before we get to any of the rest of that, just, I mean, having heard all this, do you have any comments for us, questions?
Really, the thing would be how to keep this project moving forward with the code enforcement officer and his determination.
So if the board, I guess, authorizes like an interpretation, we can just forward it to Don tomorrow and say, hey, the board authorized this, can you take a look at it? And we can talk to him about it. And
Yep.
he can write a letter to you as the board. And then we'll go from there.
Right, I mean, the other option is for you to contact Don and ask him for the interpretation.
That
Okay.
works too.
All right.
Or increase your area to 500 square feet.
Yeah,
But is that possible with these? These are like prototype cabins from like
Right,
the HVH
yeah, so these
project,
are
right?
prefabricated cabins. I believe this one does come in 2 different sizes.
Okay.
I just don't know if this is the larger or the smaller of the 2. So we're looking into the part about being above the 500 square feet for accessory apartment. But if we can get the ruling on the accessory or the dwelling unit.
I mean, I think,
The ask is what, that it's, the code requires it to be 500 square feet, it's not 500 square feet, so the ask is,
No, as far as the dwelling unit, not
Yeah,
the
I think
accessory
the
apartment.
ask is more like,
so the ask, that's 800 square feet, right?
so I think
right, well,
we're gonna have trouble approving it if it's not a dwelling unit, because what are we approving? And how do we stop you from putting a stove in it in the future? So I think,
And where does the wastewater go?
yeah, exactly. It's not just like a shed, so either you make it a dwelling unit and meet the requirements for it, or we gotta figure out what you are.
Did you not just talk about a project that had precedence with considering this a dwelling unit?
We treated it as a dwelling unit.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the path of least resistance.
It was an existing structure, I think, right?
it was above a garage.
It was above a garage,
It was existing, it wasn't a new build
Right.
from
Right.
scratch.
it was really just,
But it was taking a garage and turning it into a dwelling unit. It
Yeah.
wasn't
right, the second floor of a garage,
Yes.
adding a bathroom, so,
The whole idea
but
was-
but Another difference there was that bathroom was gonna be connected to the existing septic system or for the property, or that septic system could be expanded. I don't remember
Right.
exactly which it
That
was.
system had capacity,
Right, it wasn't
but didn't have a problem.
this.
The goal was that the board felt that, making it a dwelling unit, you didn't have to worry about someone moving into it 6 months from now or a year, like we said.
I think the way that it was, the memo that we wrote on the issue was that it was going through the proper process of getting a special use permit, and if at some point they wanted to actually rent it out to somebody and not just use it for their daughter home from school, that the building department would require them to legalize it as a dwelling unit by putting in a stove.
Yeah, I don't think it's that relevant to this situation because it was a different issue there.
Okay.
Yeah, I just brought it up as it's the only other time it
Yeah.
seems we've did
Yeah.
anything remotely like this, so.
Yeah, I think the path of least resistance is to call it a dwelling unit, because then we don't have to spend time trying to come up with what else it could be.
Okay.
In which case, it would need to be 500 square feet.
Yeah.
500 or
Or
800?
800.
Well, that's the thing. The code says the minimum floor area for a dwelling unit shall be 800, and the minimum for an accessory apartment shall be 500. So if this is categorized as an accessory apartment,
Yeah,
it's 500.
right.
Both are dwelling units.
We're,
but
yeah, they're
it's
both
not
fall
great.
under the umbrella. of
The
dwelling
language is
unit.
confusing, but
We're
it's,
splitting hairs.
yeah.
Semantics.
So just to be fully clear, is if we meet the 500 square feet, we meet the definition of an accessory apartment.
But, yes, but not necessarily a dwelling unit because it doesn't have full facilities for a family.
Okay.
But they could add.
They could always be added,
With
yes.
the 500 square feet.
And you-
dwelling unit.
And at that point, you've gone through this process of getting it approved as a special permit use. So you've gone through the motions of doing that, and then you can, it would just be a matter of legalizing it as an actual unit with the bathroom, kitchen. You know, that's if it's really going to be rented out. I mean, it seems like it's unlikely based on the information you're providing about the applicant's intentions, but you never know.
Okay. So, at this time, we're saying the applicant should do what?
They should review the zoning law,
Yep.
speak to Don if needed, work on the wetlands issue, and reconsider the holding tank or talk to Department of Health about whether it's really viable.
Okay.
We don't want to go through a whole process of, that this could be approved, and then the Department of Health's just like, what are you, crazy? Like, who's going to get pumped out every week?
So if the health department approves it, because they
Right,
technically.
that's what I'm saying, it's only up to
Ultimate-
them
yeah.
about that.
Now, what can the town do to protect ourselves, though, about it being not,
The planning
Action.
board can still deny it, even if Health Department approves it, if they can't demonstrate to you that, it can be used safely in a worst-case scenario, which is use by someone every day living there, because we
Right.
can't stop someone from being there every day. Once
Cold
it's
winter, the
approved.
pipe breaks, it just
Yeah.
fills up the tank, and all the sewage runs into the stream. Okay.
But that, I mean,
but more if it's not pumped. We
Right,
get
but
cold
you're saying
winters.
it's used intermittently, so then someone might not be there for a week, and water just flowing into it.
That's true.
right. That could happen if you had a pump system as well.
Uh-huh.
So I understand your concern, but this could happen with other conventional septics as well.
So I think the biggest concern is the frequency upon which it would have to be pumped.
Yep.
For even a infrequent use. And the obvious that even though you have a alarm system and all those things, that it's more probable than not that it won't be pumped.
I mean, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, with the traditional system is if that were to happen, say, at my house, I would just get a very soggy lawn at some
Yes.
point.
Typically.
Not that there would be
Typically.
feces running down out of my house or down the road or into a stream.
Well, I mean, right, it's
Well,
it's the proximity to the stream and the wetlands too,
Sure.
which is
Yeah, a failure,
tightening the scrutiny.
failure of an effluent line is different than a failure of a solid waste line going into a tank that racks up but the chance of the line going from the house to the tank failing is remote. That's not the big concern.
Yeah.
If it's not pumped out
Right.
and it forces out of the top of the tank,
1,001 gallons goes.
which it
somewhere.
will force out, it will push the tank up. I happened to be on one today where it pushed the top right out of a concrete tank and flowed into a stream. So it is possible that if, an alarm system there that nobody really sees or notices, what happens at that point? It's, the town doesn't have the resources to drive around there weekly and check on it.
Right, so you've heard the concerns, so
Yep.
you'll go back to your client and have a discussion.
Member Palmer, something further?
Most alarm systems on the control, you have a switch that can turn the alarm off.
Yeah,
Makes
or
it
they-
makes it inaudible.
Yeah, or they
Or you cut a wire.
cut a wire, certainly. It certainly could be done, absolutely.
All right, so anything further on 198 Dogtail Corners Road?
There was one other thing that's in both memos about if there's information about the shared driveway that you can
Yeah,
provide
we're
the
looking
attorney.
into that.
Okay.
Okay. And now to 202 Dogtail Corners Road. Try to get the right stuff here. Nope. Is that-
Chairman,
Mhm.
are you raising the escrow on this?
Well, I mean, do you want to discuss this further with your client before we raise the escrow, or do you want us to raise the escrow and then have our consultants work on this further?
Is it something where we can get another submission in just to see how the application moves forward first, and then provide an escrow with a future submission, or?
I think if you want us to start digging into a second submission, then we've got to raise the escrow. 'Cause
Yeah. Okay. Need a motion to, the recommendation was to raise the escrow to $5,000. Okay, motion to increase the escrow to $5,000. Motion made by Member Palmer, seconded by
Second.
Member Villano. Discussion?
Is it,
This is for
okay, just for
still
the escrow, okay.
198
Okay.
Dogtail Corners Road. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Okay, the motion passes 5-0 with 2 absences. Members of the planning board, do we want to consider setting a site walk for this project?
Well,
Why don't we talk about 202 first, because they're right next to each other?
Yeah.
yeah,
Do both at once,
Sure.
possibly?
Okay. And then lastly, consider classifying the action as a type 2 action under SECRA.
Maybe we
I
wait.
think it's premature, because if it ended up needing a use variance or something else, it wouldn't be type 2.
All right. All right. 202 Dogtail Corners Road.
All right, just for the record again, Evan Pendleton with Insight Engineering, surveying landscape architecture. Similar project. This one is located on a 2.5 acre parcel in the RU district, just north of the previous project. Again, it's bordered by the 10 Mile River to the east. Currently developed as a single-family residence with a shared common driveway. Unlike the previous one, this one, we are proposing a conventional gravity septic system for the new one-bedroom cabin. There's less site constraints on this property. There's no wetlands, and it's easier to provide a gravity system water supply, again, would be provided by a new service line from the existing residence. And then other than that, it would be the same procedural stuff as the previous project.
Okay, so this is the existing house at 202, correct?
Yep.
Okay, and this is the
That's the septic
existing
in the
septic
rear.
for 202. And what you're proposing is this cabin here with a septic system
Correct.
up here, okay. And so I'm guessing the drawing with the well on it's on the next page?
Yes.
Okay, let's see.
So the well is just between the existing residence and the proposed cabin?
Here,
Yes.
okay. So there. Okay. And the square footage of this proposed accessory cabin?
This one is 498 square feet.
Oh,
Just shy. Yeah,
Ditto.
add a little patio off of it or something.
Outside measurement of the outside siding?
It seems.
With the
it's
overhang of the eave?
How big is the house? Because it's almost, it's not much smaller than the house.
1 story, 2 bedroom, it's not big.
Yeah, I don't remember. I believe the house was between 1,000 and 1,500 square feet, maybe. So
Is that to scale,
this
though?
one
Yeah.
on the
500, then.
on the east
Yeah.
side of the cabin, there's
East side of the cabin.
there's an overhang with the roof, so it's a enclosed or like a covered deck.
So that's not the footprint you're showing us.
That's the total footprint. It's not the floor area,
Okay. It's, if it, right, because you're, it's
which
showing the
we
roof, but not
provided
the footprint.
architecturals. I don't know if you have.
Yeah, it's up in a couple.
I'll zoom out a little bit here.
The overhang. Where's the overhang you were just describing?
If you look on the plan to the all the way to the
Over
right,
there.
there's a
So this whole thing is turned, turned around?
yes, it's
Yes,
mirrored.
yes, okay.
Yep.
It's only a 4-foot overhang.
So if you add up all the square footages of each room, we're at 498.
Sorry?
If you add up all the square footages inside for living space, we're at 498.
498.
Yeah, but the floor area is.
Yeah, what about the walls?
Is including the wall.
The interior walls would give you another 2 square feet somewhere, right?
I mean, to get the 500 square feet, you really, you take the outside measurement of the building.
It's closer to
530 or 540.
612 is the
Okay.
building area.
Their
You
footprint.
don't, you don't measure it by the internal, that would be, now if you're doing that for rental purposes, that's how you do the square footage, but for code compliance, you're measuring the exterior wall.
Well,
Is that right?
We should see how the code defines
There,
it.
there might be a code,
No,
a
it's-
town-specific
But that's how we
definition of
always-
floor area,
But
though.
it's less, because you've got 612-foot building area, and then the covered exterior is 88, so
On
if you do,
zoning table, we always measure the outside wall.
right, but if you
Interesting.
take away the 88 from 612,
You're still over 500.
you got it.
So floor area is, though, floor space is defined as the sum of all areas of habitable or commercially usable space, including the interior floor area of all rooms.
So it's the walls too.
And the footprint includes the foundation and the exterior walls and footings.
Okay, so it's,
Would that change on 198 possibly too, if you go by a different
we can
measurement?
look back at that, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you're going to gain 80-something square
That was
feet,
that was lower.
whatever it was. It was 416.
16.
Yeah, you're not going to, I don't think you're going to 84 square feet
Mhm.
Probably not.
walls.
No, just the walls.
In the submission,
gained
it
120.
says 612 square feet for this one.
Of building
The overall
area.
size of the
Right.
building.
Yeah, the building footprint is 612.
Yeah.
Oh, that includes the
But
patio.
if you take out the
Right.
patio, like
Take out
Member
the
Valano's
88.
saying, you're still over
Yeah, you can't
500.
count the patio,
Yeah.
but overhang.
Okay, so that, probably not an issue. I guess 498, if it is 498, then the ZBA can, I think, give a variance for 2 square feet.
They would.
Build a vestibule.
So anyway, so putting any of that aside, I don't think that's going to be a concern. I mean, is there any other concern here that we,
I'm
I mean-
just not clear, what's this overhang area for?
Like a deck.
It's
So
a
that,
deck?
yeah,
if
to hang
you-
out, look at the river?
Sit
Oh, okay.
outside, look at the
Yeah.
river.
So there's like a sliding door to it from the living sleeping area? Is that what I'm seeing in this illustration?
correct.
Yes. Yeah, like a.
Oh, okay, a doorway there to a deck, okay.
There's,
A baby there.
Did you say a baby?
Small, 4 foot wide,
Oh,
small deck.
there's an egress from the bathroom to that portico, for lack of a better way to say it. Is
Right
that-
here?
Is that, yeah, that confused me. It's kind of weird coming from the bathroom
to the outside?
to
That
the
is
outside. That's,
strange.
That's really,
I mean, maybe it's meant for, I don't know. what.
Yeah, I'm not an architect.
Outdoor shower.
yeah, you walk right into the shower.
Yeah.
Yeah, you come from,
Well, this is probably meant to be like a beach
Right, you're swimming
cottage
in
where
the
you come right
stream.
in
Yeah,
from
swimming
from a pool.
yeah, I
and
saw
Into
that.
the
rinse the
bathroom.
sand off
Yeah.
and
okay. What is,
One of
what's
the
your boat? What's,
big picture questions.
Yeah.
And again, it's an enforcement issue, but this is right next to Harlem Valley Homestead.
mhm.
How, it would seem to me like these could be very easily be used as overflow cabins for like a short-term rental basis.
Sure.
Is the town currently prohibit short-term rentals?
Where are we with that? Nothing.
It's on the list
yet,
to be
right?
done.
Yet?
Okay.
Yeah, and this is completely separate from Harlem Valley. This isn't,
Right.
Right, okay. I mean, as long as there's no intention for it to be part of that
No.
project.
Okay. So, any
Comments are
members of the
pretty-
planning board have any other comments or
Well, like,
questions at this time?
where's the parking for the unit?
Yeah, I guess for both these, I mean, because you just consult for both these projects. So for both these projects, I mean, we need to see like, I guess, some walkways to the cabins or something, I would think. The J.H. Ketchum Hose Company would likely have a comment on, you know, in case it catches fire, how do you get a fire truck next to it?
Almost driving the lawn.
So anyway, those are just other things that usually come up.
exterior lighting.
If there's any exterior lighting, that usually comes up. But there's no issues with this. It's for 202 Dogtail Corners Road, there's no issues with setbacks, there's no issues with well or wastewater.
No, I mean, it's very similar memo.
Okay.
As far as procedural, and if this can proceed as an accessory apartment, again, based on whatever they come back with, if they increase it, or if they, you know, we get information from Don. It seemed a lot of similar referrals required, similar seeker actions. We did touch on the parking in the memos, both of them, like, basically it's a four spaces would be required if you're talking about 2 dwelling units. It seems like there's enough space for that here, you know, either along the driveway or, next to the house on both lots. So I think there's plenty of space for that, but if they want to show that where that can be done, that would be helpful, showing walkways if that's possible. The fire department comment's a good one. I didn't have that in there, but I think it's probably smart to refer to them when we get to that point. I think we've done that on other accessory units before.
And do you know what the right-of-way is for? Who is it serving? If you look back on the 202 eco site, there's a right-of-way that goes right past the cabin.
There's a right away.
Oh, there, yeah, you're
it
there.
goes
Over to
from the
left.
driveway to the north.
These dotted lines?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, you have a construction entrance, but then who has the right to use that?
I believe that, I'm assuming it was originally set for the property to the north, but I believe they also have access from Dogtail Corners Road. We can look into that.
I mean, just questioning whether you'd want to set the cabin, if someone ever decides they have the right to build that driveway and they decide to do it, is that where you want the cabin?
So aesthetically, that's where it sits best, because it's at the top of the slope and it looks out over the 10 Mile River.
Question. The size of the have you sized the system for that yet, the septic?
The proposed septic?
Yeah.
Yes, so we had done some preliminary testing.
Okay.
We're still waiting to schedule witness testing with the health department.
Yeah, but how
Right.
big is the system based on that design?
So we sized the septic just based on previous projects with the health department.
Yeah.
They usually, even if you're a one bedroom,
Yeah.
they look to size for a minimum of 2 bedrooms.
Okay.
So that's what we sized it for. And that shows primary and expansion.
So how big was it? 100
I-
feet, 200 feet?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I know
Okay.
we had better sandy soils in that area.
So you probably have the same soil down on the other lot is what I'm trying to extrapolate out
So
that.
we don't. It's actually further downhill,
Oh,
and
okay.
because it's closer to the stream and the 10 Mile,
Okay,
the soils weren't as great, and there was high groundwater.
okay.
I mean, it just kind of looks like there's a, I don't know, lack of, like, tree, like you could just kind of go this way
Yeah.
from here to there. But, yeah, I mean, you can see this other property does have a driveway going through it or by it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would just want to understand if there's something underground there that they're running, or, you know, what that right-of-way is.
Okay.
And then, so again, it butts up against the Nono's Garden LLC property, which, so they own the stream.
The rivers and.
Yeah, okay. I guess
Can you
it just
click on-
historically moved or something. Or like,
What? Just click on that parcel again?
This one.
The 2.5 and the 4.3?
Anra's Nest,
Isn't that,
Gentle Place.
so the honors, isn't that one of the same owners as?
Yes, that's Harlem Valley. This is the
That's
same
why we're
owner as
getting
Harlem Valley
confused.
Homestead.
Because you're saying it's separate, but it looks like the owner's very similar to what's Harlem.
Right, I mean, they all go to the same P.O. box in
It's the
Houston,
same,
Texas.
it's
Yeah.
the same beneficial owner,
Yeah.
all
Yes.
3 properties, which is why I asked about it being used as part of the Harlem Valley project.
So again, it may, so it's legally different owners. I'm seeing different LLCs,
Yeah,
but they're all going to the same P.O. box in Houston, Texas.
That's right.
Right.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, so I don't know, what else is there to discuss on 202 Dogtail Corners Road?
I think they just need to get us some more information, and then this one may be able to move forward on a different path than the other, or maybe they both move forward once you recalculate.
Okay.
I didn't really propose increasing escrow on this one because it wasn't as complicated.
Right. All right, so would we consider classifying the action as a type 2 action or secret?
Let's see if they, well,
But, yeah, we can just wait and do them both at the same time.
yeah, if you're planning on a response to these memos and possibly, see, the 202 cabin getting legal as far as floor area, maybe we wait until they come in with the next round,
Mhm.
and we can do that. It still would be type 2. Just
Yep, because right now, based on their submission, they're still under 500
Mhm.
square feet, so.
All right, and just, let me just go back to 198 for a second. Okay, so the contour lines kind of wrap around the house and the
Yes.
driveway? Okay.
Yep.
Got it. Okay, I don't know. I'm just trying to see if there's some way that, I mean, are you certain you can't increase this septic field to the north? Like, you know that won't happen, or? And then you could then have this.
Not with a gravity system from the cabin.
Right, I'm looking at the contour lines. I mean, if it was here, it goes down to like there, right? I mean,
The pump system is not that really complicated for a one-bedroom house.
No, it's just a big additional expense, so we were trying to avoid it, but
so it's
Not the
pumping it
expensive-
every other
Yeah.
week.
As you're saying.
Right, and potentially.
Yep.
Right. So, something
Yeah,
for your
we'll look
client to
at.
consider, I
Yep.
would say. Okay. All right, so then on 202 and obviously 198, sidewalk? I want to see what this looks like on the ground, I guess?
Yeah.
Good idea. And would you or somebody be able to kind of say, here's where the cabins, like, not that it has to be staked out, but just kind of like, this
yeah,
is where it would be?
yep.
and-
They were previously staked out last fall. I'm sure the ribbons are probably down now, but I can generally show you where they are.
Mhm. Okay. All right. So usually this time of year, we're doing them on Saturdays, just because
Yep.
most planning board members work, and by the time we'd all be able to check it out, it'd be dark.
Yep, understood.
So, let me, see. Saturday the 15th, Saturday the 22nd. Anybody that work or not work for any?
Either-
Well, 15th won't work actually for, no, that'll work, I think. Yeah. Fifteenth or 22nd work for me. I don't know, Member Palmer, Member Williams?
15th might be tough for me.
15 might be tough.
Coming back
Okay.
from a funeral.
Member Williams, I'm sorry.
Both days.
What?
I said both days.
Work or don't work?
They work.
Okay.
Yeah, either day.
Either day?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, so 22nd, we're still looking at?
Sure.
Want to look up what time dawn is for Engineer Berger?
I'm not. Sunrise, whatever sunrise is.
The time changes Sunday, so.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, it'll be better.
Why don't we just wait till April? It will be fishing season. We'll be right near the river.
All right, so, what,
What day are we? 22nd?
Saturday, March 22nd.
Saturday 22nd, 8 a.m.?
Should be sun up by then. Hopefully.
8
snow's
a.m.?
not.
Yes.
Okay.
If it snows, we'll reschedule.
Does that work for
Yeah.
you or whoever?
Yeah, we'll have somebody.
And it's a site walk for both properties?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so, motion to have a site walk for 198 and 202 Dogtail Corners Road, March 22nd, 8 a.m. Motion made by Member Palmer, seconded by Member Villano. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Okay, so that'll be for members of the planning board. Secretary Van Millen will let the other two members know that we agreed on Saturday, March 22nd at 8 a.m. And it'd be any of us, our consultants, possibly someone else from AKRF.
Yeah, well, someone will be there.
Yeah.
Either me or Corey.
Right. Okay. Anything further this evening?
No, I think
Okay.
we're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so our next scheduled meeting is 2 weeks from now, March 17th.
St. Patty's Day.
And may I remind you, you need to be sober at the meetings?
What's that?
I'm just talking to everybody. You need to be sober
Oh.
to, in the meeting. The deadline for that has already passed. On the agenda, we will likely have
Double JK,
double JK
Camp Rama, Phyla, lot line adjustment,
and Rama Philo Lot Line Adjustment.
and something else, but I don't remember.
And there may be something else.
The warehouse thing, casino?
Oh.
Warehouse.
Oh, yes, right.
42 Midland.
Yes, 42.
Midfield, whatever.
Right. Midfield, yeah. So.
Lane.
Okay. And then the meeting after that is April 7th. The deadline for that is 16 days from now, March 19th at noon. Make sure you have your applications in by noon on the deadline, or you go to the next meeting.
That's right.
Okay. Any further business before the planning board? Okay. Seeing no further business, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Seconded by
Second.
Member Palmer. All those in favor of adjournment say aye.
I
Aye. We're adjourned.